I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Plug it in while tuning the frequency. Jett and the crew, they got the remedy. Discussing Pat's and all his legacy. Mike is Ives. Welcome to the social hour. We're talking gospel, flying power. Look in the field of protest, got the keys to the Batmobile. Lights go down the shelter about the storm. Jealous wisdom striking like a dawn. We're down the ways of harm. We're in deep, not sleep. Welcome to the social hour, exploring Gotham's darkest hours. Tune in, feel the charge. Jett set the hill with flowing large.
Welcome to the Social Hour, a Batman on Film podcast, batman-on-film.com. I am the founder of Batman on Film, Bill Ramey. Let's ride! And today I'm riding with senior BOF contributor, Ryan Lauer. Ryan, how are you, sir?
In the spirit of Peter Verra.
Yeah,
gotta really get down there for Pete.
What's up? He's got what's up? What's up? Okay. Yeah.
It's going well.
Yeah.
Going well, Bill. We're getting some fall weather in Indiana. I have turned into an elderly, not elderly. No, I'm aging. I'm getting up there because I'm enjoying talking about the weather. That is becoming a topic in my day-to-day life. Like, oh, that weather today. Oh, that weather.
Yeah.
Because it's October. I love the fall. I love Halloween. I look forward to when I can start regularly wearing hoodies. And it has been unseasonably warm. And by warm, I mean like, mid-upper 70s constantly here. And finally, it's kind of been dipping a little bit. Next week we've got some highs in like the mid 50s coming our way, and I'm looking at I'm looking in my closet at my hoodies, so like which ones will be chosen.
Yeah,
I'll wear you on Tuesday, you're coming Wednesday, so it's good.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
it's also Halloween season, so I got to watch the long Halloween.
Yeah, I think I've been elderly for most of my life because I've always liked to talk about weather for some reason. I mean, I'm one of those who can put on the Weather Channel and watch it for an hour, just watching it, Especially
well, this week would be different with the hurricanes.
Yeah.
Hurricane coverage.
Shout out to the BOFers in Florida, man. I've been through hurricanes.
Yeah.
Where I grew up in Southeast Texas near the coast. Been through several. Yeah. And then they get double
there was a
whammy,
1-2 punch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in a week's time, got 2 of them or so. 2 weeks time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed really quick. I'm like,
what's
damn.
crazy is that the one that came in a couple weeks ago or whatever it was, the one that just like went up through Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina and just devastated. I mean, that's inland, man. And you get that kind of damage. I got a buddy.
That's wild.
Who lives in South Carolina. I mean, he lives in South Carolina, away from the coast, up toward closer to North Carolina. And he sent me pictures. I said, how'd you, he goes, it looked like a bomb went off, And he goes, he grew up the same place with me. And he's like, it's like being back home. And I live, it's not like I live in Charleston, South Carolina, So, yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I actually have a really good friend that lives in South Carolina, and I'd seen stuff about, like you just said, like North Carolina and Georgia, and so I messaged him, was like, hey, are you all right in South Carolina? He's like, yeah, nothing happened to him. He's like a half hour from the coast even and stuff. And
it was further. Yeah, that's
like, damn,
that's what was crazy.
Wild.
It came in and up through Georgia, Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee and Western South Carolina. I mean, it's crazy.
Nuts. And here I'm like, where's my chilly weather for my hoodies?
Yeah, it affected Haas. Like he was in Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hit him.
Yeah,
I
he
hit him up, and yeah,
texted us.
yeah. So, all right, Absolute Batman.
Oh, hey. And we're
Let's
not
talk
talking about the
about
absolute editions. We're talking about the
no.
new absolute Batman.
Yes, this is the Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta, Frank Martin production. Of course, Scott Snyder's
Nick
writer.
Tr- Nick Dragotta, are you familiar with him?
Not honestly, no, and not until
Yeah,
now.
I'm not either. Yep. I'm not either until now. And it's one of those things of like now I need to go back and look because it's not like he's someone, like a
Yeah,
22-year-old fresh out of art school or anything. I think he's got a career. Um, but like, yeah, I'm unfamiliar. I want to go back and look and see all the things that he's done and like because sometimes that does happen where you go back and you're looking like, holy shit, I read something by this guy a long time ago. Seen that this
yeah.
guy did this issue that I'd seen and it was just the name just went right over my head.
Well, we know Scott Snyder, our old
Yeah, I've heard of
friend,
him. Hmm.
um, had a long run on Batman.
Hmm.
Was on Detective before that.
Hmm.
Uh, wrote a classic detective story with Dick Grayson as Batman in it.
Art in my mind,
Yeah,
that's his best Batman stuff. It's
that
my
was good.
favorite.
Yeah,
It's my favorite. Not to discredit, because obviously Court of Owls became a bit of an instant classic, and people love Court of
yeah,
Owls. He did Death of the Family, which is one of my favorite Joker stories. So the guy's, he's pretty good, Bill.
yeah.
Pretty good.
I would say 3/4 of his run on Batman I liked.
Hmm.
I mean, the quarter out. I mean, he'll go down, I'm sure, in Batman history as being the creator of one of a great set of. I want to
Yeah.
say Batman villain, but we're talking plural. The Court of Owls.
Yeah.
It's already uh, seeped its way into other Batman media besides comics, and you know, that wouldn't shock me if we see it in a live action film one day.
Yeah. Same.
So yeah, I would give that. That it would be. It's a classic for
He
that.
he, he did the All-Star Batman
Yeah,
in Rebirth. That's actually how I started writing for BOF, was because I took over reviewing issues for you on that book. And that one's not really talked about that much. And I think that's a fun series. It's like 14, 15 issues overall, and that's it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that was a pretty good series that he wrote and
Yeah.
had a variety of artists on that one. That was pretty good.
There's some things that didn't jibe with me that he came up
That we're
with.
not fans of that he's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I got to be fair here,
Yep.
but I still think he's great.
Yep.
Um,
Still really good.
so he's kind of like with this absolute universe. I think he's kind of like one of the creative bosses,
Yeah.
if you will, and he is writing Absolute Batman.
All in. This
I
whole
still
all
haven't,
in initiative.
I still haven't figured out what that is, but whatever. Um,
So this is where Pete would be a good one to
yeah,
chime in because I read that all in special that came out the first Tuesday of this month.
I did
And that is
too.
supposed to kind of set the stage for like, because if you'll see the DC ongoing series starting this month, I'll say all in, you know,
Yes, yeah,
and this absolute Batman, soon absolute Wonder Woman and absolute Superman. I think they also stem from they're hinted at in the all in issue,
yeah.
which one of your favorite DC characters, Uxas, he's all over that all in issue.
See, I didn't. I
I
guess
I don't
I was
I
lost.
don't understand.
I
Yes.
didn't get any of it.
Yep. Yeah. And
You
that's
know.
where it's like, Pete, break it down for me because in which I talked to him the other night on the phone, he said something about like it's almost like the birth of the dark multiverse. And I'm like, I'm multiversed out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also I thought there already was a dark multiverse. And so it's just like, okay, I can just chalk it up to the fact of like that's not usually my area that I explore. I'm in that stuff. So I don't necessarily get it. But I guess if somebody wants a little bit of a stage setter, I guess you can read that all in special. Didn't do much for me. It didn't
No.
affect me reading this absolute Batman
Yeah.
in any way whatsoever. So
Yeah. I think absolute Batman. Well, for me, it just kind of stands on its own.
yeah,
I don't need to know how or why or when this universe came to be. You know what
yeah,
I'm
me
saying?
neither. Yeah, just
Okay.
jump in.
So yeah. What was your thoughts when this was announced
Okay.
and we got, kind of a synopsis of what it was going to be about? What was your thoughts? I mean, what was,
I
how'd
was,
you think?
I think I was like, eh, to
Yeah.
be honest. And I always try to make sure to not set myself, but to not give some kind of strong reaction and be, and overreact because I also think that it's human nature as you get older, new things start coming out and you start to lean more towards the old way of things. So the fact of something being announced and it's a new Batman and it's like, okay. As more specifics on it came out and I wasn't even turned away from the look. The
That's what
first
got
image,
most of the hullabaloo was over the look, you know,
it was big.
the big.
I like my Batman not slim, but just like trimmed. I don't know. I don't need him to be some hulking mass.
Yeah.
You go live action. I like Christian Bale and Pattinson more so than Affleck's
Hmm.
jacked figure, And that
Hmm.
kind of because sometimes I get a little carried away with it in comics, but also I kind of don't care either. I'm like, does he look kind of cool? It's like, oh, okay. So this image looked cool, but then it was saying of like he's got like the constant sell to me was that you kept seeing was like there's no money, there's no mansion, there's no butler and stuff, and I was just
Hmm.
kind of like, well, we don't even get that stuff in the legacy comics right now. Like those are things that like a comfortable Batman story to me is what we know with Batman,
Hmm.
his
Hmm.
history of what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents, the birth of Batman, the mansion, the butler. That's Batman, and that doesn't change like him and what he does. And so then I don't know. I wasn't all in on the announcement. The Scott Snyder thing, it intrigued me. I kind of thought in a sense of like, okay, if rightfully so, DC Comics, they need a shot in the arm. Hey, Scott Snyder obviously did really good work for the company.
Hmm.
Probably not a blank check, but a very like many zeros in the check. Who wouldn't say, yeah, I'll write a Batman story? Like I'll jump back into the Batman, and
Hmm.
rightfully so because I think awareness is half the battle, and I think if you're into DC Comics, you are definitely aware that this comic was coming and that this comic's
Hmm.
out. So that's, you know, all of that makes total sense. So that's yeah, I don't want to take over the whole thing, but leading up to it, I wasn't excited about it. I didn't love what was being teased. I I am trying to not over exaggerate, but I think that the bat symbol for this is one of the worst I've seen in Batman. Like I don't like this bat symbol in any way whatsoever. And that's
Okay.
completely nerdy. It's nitpicky, it's small, and we can get into specifics about the bat symbol, which we
Yeah.
will. So just like going into it, I wasn't going into it gonna read it, gonna hate read it or anything like that. But that was just me leading up to it. It was pretty much like I'm not like sold on this.
I I am I like Batman a certain way. I'm sure you
Hmm.
can say anybody, well, everybody can say
Yeah,
that.
they have their preference.
And, to me, Batman is, parents killed in front of him, wealthy
Hmm.
family, Alfred, you know, um, becomes Batman, the whole, I shall become a bat, fights street level crime, relatively realistic, and is mainly solo without
Hmm.
sidekicks and whatnot. But even with that, even with a Robin, that's still traditional Batman to,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So anything that veers outside of that, I tend to go, you know, really? What, all we have to do that?
Yeah.
But if you're going to do something like this, you got to do. I mean, it's got to be a little different, you
Hmm.
know. So that was my fear. It was going to be so foreign to me, like not to no. I'm not putting this down, but like when they did the Stan Lee reimagines
Hmm.
DC comics, DC characters, and then there's the Batman one. That's a little too much change for me, even though it's
That's Dark
okay.
Claw, wasn't it? I think I have that
But
issue
that was
right over
it.
here,
That no,
actually.
that's the
That's a different one.
amalgamation. What was it?
Oh,
Amagram,
okay.
amalgam. That DC Marvel smash up. That was Dark Claw.
Oh,
They
that's not.
Yeah, they combined
Okay. Then the
Wolverine and Batman.
that's right. Okay. They're different
This
things.
was and I wrote uh Michael Uslan did a updated
That's right. Yeah.
version of that not long ago, and I got the interview for him for that with DC, and then I wrote a review. I enjoyed it,
Hmm.
um, but that was like, I mean, that's like a completely different.
Sure.
Everything's very different person is Batman and whatnot. So, but I was going to read this obviously, which I did, and I'm reviewing it for Batman on Film, and I'll say that when it became available for us to read early, thank you to DC Comics,
Hmm.
um, I read it and I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked it because with all the little tweaks, I wrote in my review, I said, kind of it's like an absolute Batman, day is night, black is white, in is out, any of those you want to come up with. At the end of the day, bottom line, with the Batman character, it was very Batman at its core. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. Hell, I gave it an A, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of I go, okay, this is the absolute Batman. It's not what I would want. Like if they made a movie, like that many changes in the Batman mythos in a film or anything like that. But in this comic book form, yeah, I'm kind of on board with this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what plays out. It's familiar, but foreign at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you and I talked about this, I'd said I was conflicted. And I said that if we talk about it, I'm like, I'm not, there is, well, one, I don't think that there's much interest in just completely coming on and dumping on something. For a listener and for me, I have better use of my time than let's spend a long time talking about something that I don't like. Doesn't sound appealing to me. As I'm conflicted though, because like I do think that the issue period is very well constructed. I'd argue
Mm-hmm.
that it is good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the artist like it did a really good job. I think
Mm-hmm.
Scott Snyder makes everything connect and like make sense. So it's like, okay, that's what's my issue. And I kind of narrowed it down to two things. Like one, I think I started to get bugged by the lead up to, and then even in reading it, because it almost felt a little too like, yeah, look how badass we are with this absolute Batman. And when something starts to do that, puff a chest a little bit, it's a turn off for me, and like almost makes me start to nitpick it unfairly. And I just kind of felt like, and there was some comic, I can't remember some comic book shop I'd seen online, like a big one too, that was even being like, that was saying the no mansion, no money, no butler. Like that was their big sell of like, yeah,
Yeah.
look how badass. We're taking these elements that with Batman, we're taking them away. And I'm like, well, if you're taking away elements of Batman that we like, why is that your selling point? Like you're
Yeah.
taking away things that we like. That's not, to me, that's counterproductive. And then I think some certain moments in the issue felt like, yeah, look how crazy and cool, badass. And I'm a little like eye rolly with like, okay. Now try to scoot that aside. What's another issue? I kind of by the end, I don't feel I feel a little sense of almost like we've gotten this in a way before, like with the Earth One line, and that was
Mhm.
Ryan Haas. That he I was trying to figure it out, and he'd read it, and he brought that point up. So I'm not going to take credit for it. He just said of Earth One, it felt like Earth One did this and did it better, and I think that's what I was looking for to help explain. Um, and like I didn't have a sense of caring a whole lot either by issue's end, and I'm like, this is issue one. This was kind of a harder sell for me to jump on board with this anyway. That I'm going to keep reading it though, because the opening page does say that this is part 1 of 5. I don't know if
Mhm.
Absolute Batman is only 5 issues or if this arc is only 5 issues, and then it's going to go into another arc. I have no idea. So that said, it's like I'm going to keep reading at least. Maybe it will grow on me. Maybe after I distance myself and accept of like what it is, that I might be more open to it. Maybe I won't be, and that's fine too. But I think I will need to judge it on what it is rather than like um my bugaboos about it per se.
Yeah.
But then again, I can like if things bother me with it. I'm not saying it ruined my day, Bill. It ruined my day. Things that I just don't necessarily enjoy about it, and that's fine too. I'm just that's where there you go. I stand by. I'm conflicted with it.
Okay. Well, we have a special guest.
We
He's
do.
join us now.
Get out of here.
In pockets himself.
No way.
Pete
Old Blue
Verra.
Dan pockets.
Ladies
Peter
and
Verra.
gentlemen,
He's gonna come in
all the
"Let it
way,
ride.
all the way from New Jersey.
Let it
Here he is.
ride."
Pete Verra joins
Wait
the
for it.
show.
Where is he?
Nobody told me they were recording
There we
at
go.
sunrise, so I woke up.
Nah. I think I let you know, Pete.
You never told me a time. I assume it was 10 o'clock normal Bill Ramey podcast time for me.
Oh man, I really would hate for there to be a paper trail
No one told me it.
or text trail, and I'm pretty sure. Dan, I thought I said 9.
There
I'll
we
find the
go.
text.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right.
I'll find the text.
So wrong about this, wrong about Hush. What else you guys wrong about?
Wait, whoa. Don't loop
y'all
me
are
into
wrong.
the Hush.
Y'all, no. I'm the one who's right about Hush. Now,
You
okay,
are
we
far
just
from right about Hush.
I'm 100%,
Mr.
100%,
Clayface.
100% right. You've let DC gaslight you so much that it's a classic that you've come to believe it. Now, we're talking Absolute
It's a
Batman,
classic.
not Hush.
Absolute Batman.
And so we've kind of just started, Pete. So the
Oh, good,
question
okay.
the question is, what did you think of the premise of Absolute Batman when it was announced? Just the information they gave us, the premise and whatnot.
From what I gathered, it was just some sort of reimagination of Batman.
Okay.
That's what I got.
And were you intrigued or already going in and like, nah, this is not for me. I probably not gonna like it.
Actually, when I first heard about it and I saw the size of the character, and then they showed me I think it was the artist's original rendition of the character, and then he put a size comparison next to a normal person. I thought it was a guy in like a robot suit again, because it just the Batman seemed so big that I thought it was like I said it was on a show with you and Hobby. I was like, this is just a guy in a suit, and you're like, yeah, it is. I was like, no, I mean like a guy in like a big RoboCop suit. Like that's what I thought it was. So, I was wrong about that, but he is a big boy.
Well, he's 6'6".
He's a big man.
Scott Snyder said physically, yes, that they made him, he is intended to be the biggest Bruce Wayne, because this is Bruce Wayne now. So let's be clear for everybody. This is Bruce Wayne. And we haven't gotten to the details
apparently.
really. That's Bruce Wayne. He's 6'6". He was a great athlete, got a football scholarship. He ends up getting injured, and I'm doing air quotes. And as we learn through exposition from kind of a Alfred voiceover type thing, he was saving himself for
Marriage.
his Batmaning career. And so injury got him out of football, and he ends up becoming, learning about criminology and engineering. He becomes an engineer and he goes to work for the city. I mean, all these different disciplines, fighting disciplines and all kind of stuff. And
This almost sounds like the other like Brian Bosworth from another universe. Instead of going pro, he went and became Batman because he wasn't good as a pro athlete.
so he goes to work, he becomes an engineer, and he knows every bit of the city. And so, more about Bruce Wayne. Yes, he did have a parent killed essentially in front of him. And we're going to do spoilers. So, it's the father who is a teacher, not a doctor. The family's not wealthy. They're not poor. I mean, he's a teacher, and the mother, Martha's a social worker. And it says they live in Crime Alley, but I mean, they're probably middle class people, but he's lived in the city. He's not rich. That bother you, Lauer?
Not say necessarily that it bothers me, but just three things right there that to me was like he just went down a checklist of like things that we know with Batman. Like, okay, let's make sure we change that. Ooh, let's change that. Ooh, let's make sure we change that. Ooh, let's make sure we change that. And to me, it's like, well, you're just looking at trying to just change things, not focusing on like the story itself. And it's like changing just to change. That's what I was like picking up on like right away.
Maybe there's a little cynicism there, right?
Yeah. But it's like, but that wasn't me trying to look for it.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, from the get-go, okay, he's a teacher instead of okay, the dad died, but the mom's still alive. Okay, they don't have money and Oh, he's at, we'll get to this, Croc's gym, and then names mentioned in that. It was starting to feel like, to me, eye rolling.
You feel like it's contrived.
Yeah.
Instead of brainstorming ideas. I mean,
yeah,
I would play devil's advocate. They could argue, okay, it's going to be Bruce Wayne. Okay. What makes him Batman? We're going to keep. He's going to be a expert in all these different disciplines, and
I think that's what they changed.
Criminology
what
and
makes him Batman.
Everything. I would say that's what I told Ryan, that after I read, I was skeptical going in, and then I read it, and I said at the bottom line, at the end of the day, he was very much Batman.
I agree and I disagree. I think that this could very well be Terry McGinnis. That's how far away it is from Bruce Wayne. It's just some guy dressed as Batman. In my opinion, it's not. I hate to be like that loser who was like, that's not the Riddler, for the Batman. But like, to me, this is so detached from what makes Batman Batman. I think the motivation of losing Martha is a huge factor in Batman. I mean, since year one, the pearls dropping have been such an influence on Bruce Wayne and what he does.
That's true.
That not having that, I think, is a huge disservice, not only to the character, but to the fans.
So fathers as parents aren't worthy.
It's tough when you make the statement for 85 years that losing both parents is an essential part to the fundamentals of this character, and then Scott Snyder comes along and just says, you only need one. Like we as readers have been so accustomed to putting Thomas Wayne on a pedestal, but it's always been the loss of Martha Wayne that seems to really motivate Bruce Wayne for his career and justice. I mean, like I said, like you can't go a movie without seeing the pearls drop. It's hard to actually motivate Batman without the loss of his mother, because he always goes back to that one scene. I don't care how, I know losing a parent can be tough for anyone, especially in the way it seems that this particular Batman lost his, but having mom around there, sitting around, waiting for him to come home after lunch is a weird thing. It's not something I actually do enjoy.
Well, I would argue that in Batman Begins, Thomas Wayne had a big influence on that young Bruce Wayne, because he had way more interaction with Bruce than his mother did in that film.
He did, but again, the pearls and Martha, that was a big part of it. Like losing a mother, I think is, especially for a son, is very difficult.
I'm like half so it's interesting because there's like a half agreeing with Pete and what he said, and then half agreeing with you, Bill. And the part agreeing with you, Bill, is the fact I do think that there's core Batman here in the physical elements, and then also of the backstory of his learning, the studies that he did.
Mhm.
Like that to me felt totally like, oh yeah, that's core Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm with Pete though, also in the fact of like the Pearl element is so, I think, just like permanent in our brains as Batman fans. And there is, I'd lean more focus on his. Now, see, I don't know. Pick your story. If he leans more towards, his mother or father, but to me, always it's like the story of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman is the like his parents are one percenters in Gotham taken out by people that they're trying to help, and Batman it goes to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that's the story that works the best, I think, for Batman's core. And then stripping away some of these other elements is just, you said contrived earlier, and I like, yes, some of my cynicism in reading it, I agree that I had that and it was evident, but I I'm kind of lost where I was going with those points. Half in and half
I get
out.
you.
Yeah.
I
To me,
would
it just
say
doesn't
that
seem any different from Terry McGinnis's origin
Elseworld.
story.
There we go. I'm almost like just call this an Elseworld story, but they latched onto too much of Gotham now, contemporary, that it can't be Elseworld. But
I
otherwise,
would
these
say
other parts, like you should called it an Elseworld story.
Hey y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor. Him becoming Batman is more for this version, it's more than just his father. To me, it was like they were at the zoo, right? On a field
Mhm.
trip, and there was a mass shooting
Mhm.
took place because the
Done.
dad
Weird to
takes
say
the
done
kids,
well, done
locks them up,
effectively.
yeah,
I
and
think it's done
says,
very effectively. Of like it's
don't open this door, period.
yeah.
You know? And I think I think he grows up in an area and sees he's around crime, he's around people being taken advantage of, whether it be by the people with money or just by the criminal element that he lives around. And so I think it's a combination. It's different than him being, yeah, 1%er, a rich kid with a silver spoon in his mouth. And he just does it because he's out for revenge or vengeance, or to make sure it doesn't happen again to anyone else. I think that part is also, there is some of that. This is bullshit. This crime is bullshit, and I'm going to do something about it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something about
There
it.
is that, but to me, it doesn't feel honestly like Bruce Wayne. This just doesn't.
So
It actually kind of feels similar
yeah.
to what we've gotten in regular continuity. I mean, they just took all Bruce Wayne's money and put him in a brownstone. Like he's been doing that for like 4 years. So again, this isn't very different from what I've been reading previously. I don't think it's that new and fresh. To be honest, I feel like I've seen this origin story before. I keep bringing up Terry McGinnis. The only difference is that this Batman is bulky and he can't fly.
Well,
I don't see anything new. There's nothing new about
Terry
this. The only thing new
McGinnis.
about this is that it was all created by Darkseid, but I'm not sure if anyone knows that because who read All In, the special? Because that's
Bill and
basically
I
what this.
did. Before you jumped on, we were
You
just
know,
raving about how much we loved it.
I mean, we're post Absolute Power and after All In, which essentially means they're cut off from the multiverse and they can't go anywhere, and they're stuck between this and the Absolute, which is a stupid name, the Absolute verse. So that's about as new as it gets for
I
Absolute.
told Lauer I don't care about any of the other stuff. I read this as just as Batman's story. I don't care how it came about, where it is, who can access it, or why it's there. It's just absolute Batman. So I'll judge. I would.
It should
I
be
got
Darkseid's Batman.
I got.
To
I
be
got.
honest
See,
with you.
I did. Only reason I read that because I had access to it, and it made no sense to me whatsoever, and I didn't need to read that to understand anything in Absolute Batman #1 at all.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
really,
mean, it shows you where the character comes from and where
I don't
essentially where its
care.
origins are.
I don't care. I don't care. That came from Dark. I get enough. I understand where this Bruce Wayne came from, who he is, what he was, just from reading Absolute Batman #1. So I would disagree with the Batman Beyond thing, Terry McGinnis. I mean, he didn't. I mean, Terry McGinnis steals the bat suit and becomes kind of a conduit of Bruce Wayne's Batman in a way. And
this guy's stealing off its tech.
I don't see. I mean, he's made all this stuff. He's created this. He's got bat caves. They're not called that in the city and buildings he knows that will never be occupied because he knows every nook and cranny of the city as a city engineer. He's made the bat suit. He's the everything. I mean, he's created
except
all
for the motorcycle. He stole that.
He stole it from Alfred. Let's speak of Alfred. Okay.
There we go.
Oof, that's rough. First of all, he looks like Ra's al Ghul.
He did. I agree with that. I was like, oh, he looks a little like Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
So
let's be serious. Alfred, the pronunciation of that woman in Begins had it right. It's Ra's al Ghul.
I believe it's
Raz. He is. It was hard. I mean, there's some it's ambiguous to exactly who he works for, unless I just missed it.
This was almost my biggest connection when Hots told me Earth One is I think Earth One began this path that Alfred's been on. So we're talking over a decade now where he has Alfred has a past in the in theater, and now like Earth One started like what special ops something or other. It's always a little ambiguous, but he has some kind of past in that.
Was it Earth One or Beware the Batman?
Earth One was before Beware the Batman.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Earth One was also before Pete's Gotham TV show, and like. Okay, so they introduced this Alfred in here, where instantly I thought like that of Earth One. Okay, we kind of know this, and they're like, but then this is where Bill, like my cynicism comes in, and they're like, but let's have him go after Batman. Yeah, that'd be cool and different. Like he's not an ally from the get go. So you're already taking Alfred, because even in Earth One, Alfred has a history with Thomas Wayne. So it's like he at least has a history with Bruce's parents. So now instead of it being Alfred, it could be some guy named
Steve
that comes in. Steve Frank comes in rather than Alfred. You know, it doesn't matter that his name's Alfred. And when that happens with something, that's like that to me is like, well, then you could just make it any name.
That's how I feel with this Bruce Wayne.
And that's where I feel like this is an example of like, this is something different. He doesn't have a butler. He's got a guy coming after him and they're going to clash. And that's Alfred. I'm like, well, I like Alfred being an ally with Bruce, being the step-in father figure. And it's like, and somebody can tell me, well, there's 4 issues left in this. Maybe he's going to get there. And I'm like, that's true. Let a story unfold.
That's valid.
Let a story unfold. But to me, it's kind of like, it's another example of you stripped away something that we like with Batman. How is that a good selling point? And then how is that fresh? And
it's better than Alfred being dead.
This is so badass, you know, sort of deal. And that's just where my mind went with that too.
I never got the look how badass we are. I never got that. So I guess
how could you not? Every page
hanging. I didn't get that.
He's like, look at me, I've got an axe and spikes on my shoulders. Come mess with me.
I knew we were getting there with that, and that was one of my examples too.
It's so nauseating. Everything about this line is honestly just trying too hard. we could start off with the name Absolute Universe because that's a joke in itself. Because we, as DC, Absolute means something. You know, the Absolute format is a gigantic book. It costs a lot of money. This book isn't being published in that format, so the name's already stupid to begin with. So strike one on them. And then I just feel like this is DC saying, "Oh my God, Batman and Detective numbers have been slumping. What can we do? I've got an idea. Let's bring back Loeb and Snyder, and then all the fanboys will get excited. Then we could relive the past." I think Loeb has still got it. I think Snyder's days have ended with Endgame. If you want to read good Scott Snyder, read Nocterra because this is not it. I'm telling you, this is hardly Batman, much less Snyder's golden days of
I
Court of
don't
Owls.
see how I don't, and I know it's my opinion versus y'all's opinion or your opinion. I don't see how this is at the. That's what got me. It's at the core. This is Batman. Alfred he's not in Gotham to get Bruce. He's after that gang, what they call the party animals. He's some kind of covert spy, hitman, operative, black ops, whatever you want to call it. He's in Gotham. He's been to Gotham before because he's at the beginning. He goes, something's different.
I've missed you, Gotham.
You lost your soul, et cetera, et cetera. And
which actually would have meant more if it was from Bruce Wayne.
The reason why he has to engage Batman and possibly take him out is because Batman is there, interferes with his operation, even though it's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, Batman's there trying to take out that gang as well because they're just terrorizing Gotham completely,
And for me, that's just. Well, first of all, I did tell Pete that this would be an interesting discussion because I think we've got each basis covered here of Bill really liked it, he didn't like it, and I'm stuck in the middle. Yeah. But everything we're describing with Alfred, though, it's like that's a big part for me of like I'm not interested. I'm not interested in this. Batman's getting in the way, and he is a lot of times. I mean, you look at pilot episodes of TV shows, there's always someone that is almost like the fish out of water. They are us for introducing us into this world, and that's what Alfred is in this comic. That's his use is we're getting caught up through him describing Gotham, describing the history of finding out this Bruce Wayne and all that stuff.
It's through Alfred's eyes.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, so he's kind of he's there for exposition, and then the conflict with Batman. I don't know. Like I'm detached, and it's supposed to be like, well, that's supposed to be crucial to jump on this story. Then it's like you should be attached with Alfred, and I'm like, but I don't think I care.
Especially when
it's one
Alfred's
issue
been dead for so long in main continuity. This is what they give me. Like this is trash.
I separate the two. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed Batman. First time we really see him Batmaning, and he's taking on that gang. The cape makes sense, or whatever it is. Cape / hooks. You see the bat walk on it on its. They kind of set that up at the zoo.
And I don't like the stuff they did with the cape. I didn't. I thought that was too much. I liked the action scene of him kicking ass, and I liked was it Officer Barbara Gordon, and Batman is upside down and tells her, "Don't come out."
That was a good scene.
Whatever. I thought that was cool. That also obviously made you think of that scene that Thomas said to little Bruce, in the flashback. No matter what you hear, don't come out. I thought that was cool. The action stuff. What he did with the cape walking on, I kind of rolled my eyes because it's like, hey, remember when we showed you that panel at the zoo earlier? Look at this. He's walking like a bat. He's hanging upside down and they're shooting at him. And it's like, we've seen him hang upside down before, but I think this is another moment we're supposed to be like, oh, cool. He's hanging upside down like a bat. And that's and then what he does with the signal, so, okay, we just saw it in The Batman. Freaking adored the fact that the bat symbol in his chest comes out and he uses that at a knife and puts it back in. It makes the sound and everything. Haas and I both were just gushing in the theater at that. So this too, I'm not against the fact if he uses that as a tool. Okay, cool. And he pulls it out. I already don't like the symbol, but I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do here? Okay, you've got a sharp weapon. Look at now, I've got a sharp weapon. But I'm gonna cut your hand off. And I'm like, oh god damn it. Come on.
I thought that was awesome, and I did. And I
Yeah.
liked it. It was very Batman.
That is the most Zack Snyder moment I've ever seen in the comic book.
It was.
You've got I hear they can reattach those within 10 minutes.
Yes, that's the way of covering it up. I get it.
The nearest hospital is such and such, or is it the other way? But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I liked it.
I mean,
and I like
only a Batman created by Darkseid would be able to do that.
Oops.
See, in my mind, I'm reading it is just it's a different world. I don't.
Sure.
Darkseid.
That's fair.
Yes.
I think there's more people. I think by what I've seen since there were early, reviews of this, which most people aren't going to read it early and go online and shit on it. But like,
I've been holding back
since it came out. I've seen more people like by a large margin Bill in your camp and like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pete and I are definitely. In which I'm even, I'm the weirdo in the middle, caught in the middle. But it's just I've seen a lot more people in your camp of enjoying it.
100%.
I did like also, Alfred is intrigued by this Batman, and that's how we find out more about Bruce.
Yeah.
Through him, and he's gonna at one point, He knows what his weak spot is, he says, which is his mother that Pete brought up earlier. We know about his little operation bases throughout the city and how, and, it's like, oh, you're good. You're prepared. And then that confrontation between Batman and Alfred. Oh, I got to jump back. I did also like the ears come off their daggers.
I thought that was a cool idea.
And Albert, he's stabbing him, but he's doing it so precisely. He knows exactly that they're non-lethal stabs. And again, I think, okay, that's kind of it's very Batmanish right there. But the Alfred Batman,
I don't think I've ever seen Batman stab anyone. Does he stab? Is he stabbed?
Not the stabbing, just knowing he kicks people's ass. And that's
true. I mean, he's not opposed to breaking a bone. I'm wondering if
I'm saying I don't
someone.
think he's ever stabbed anybody. I'm saying he's just not stabbing him to kill him. He knows, he is so goddamn smart. He knows exactly where he can puncture the guy in his body, and it's not going to, it's not lethal at all. So I like that. And I like, the confrontation between Alfred and Batman at the end.
Well, since you just brought up the stabbing, and then we'll get to the Alfred confrontation. But did you like? So I think I put a picture of it in the Facebook group when he became one of the Road Warriors for WWF back in the 90s, and he had the spikes on his shoulders and shit. I didn't like that. I thought that was dumb.
Just to
scare people. Hold on. I know what I just said. Just to scare people. That's what Batman. That's what Batman does. He's like fear. I understand fear.
Right there, you got to go. Okay.
But in this, it's just like, oh, you're not scared of me yet? Look at, I've got spikes, and then that's when they're all like, and run away. I thought that was dumb. I just thought that was dumb. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I can't say there was any time I read this and rolled my eyes or thought it was. I'm being honest.
Oh, for me, it happened early on. First moment.
And I am the most. Well, I don't know if I'm the most, but I am, like I said to Ryan earlier, I'm pretty, set in my ways when it comes to Batman. Yeah. And I didn't expect to enjoy this, and I enjoyed it because if I'd come out of this and not thought this is not Batman at its core, if this is just different to be different and it doesn't have the DNA of Batman in it, then I can't get on board. But I see Batman DNA in this all over.
Sure.
And we've used the term badass quite a bit. I did think he was taking out Alfred and telling him, you're not the only one that follows people. You're not the only one that investigates people. It takes him his bike and then shooting out the glass was pretty cool as well.
I did like their confrontation. And then of course anybody reading this knows, doesn't matter. This is a whole new universe Batman or whatever, of when he shoots Alfred in the face. It's like, okay, well, there's a twist here. He didn't just blow his head off. Like, and then you see what he did, and he shot little batarangs at him. He reconfigured Alfred's gun overnight. Or not even overnight, like, in less than a day. And then out he goes. And yeah, I thought that was a good scene, good dialogue and stuff.
And that they're headed to some sort of partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. So look,
epilogue.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the epilogue?
I'd rather watch the post-credit scenes of the Snyder Cut. Like, that's how I felt about the Joker in this.
Don't get crazy, Peter.
I'm not getting crazy.
Don't get crazy.
You made him into the Hunchback of Gotham. Like, give me a break. Who cares about that? To me,
we don't know.
Things to change it.
We don't know anything.
You don't know. All they said is he never laughs. They call him the Joker.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't joke.
Okay, there's another eye rolling part though too. Like, it would be crazy if he's called the Joker, but he doesn't laugh. Like, that's like, oh goddamn, come on.
7-foot Batman's going to beat the shit out of Quasimodo. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
And it's like, he's called, don't say jokes. He doesn't laugh. That's why we call him the Joker. And it's like that
stupid.
Like, that's eye rolling.
Did you get the nod to Jack Napier and Arthur Fleck?
How could I not? He threw it in my face.
I'm trying to think what was
there was no subtlety there.
Yeah,
no one knows his. But
didn't bother me.
His name. We don't know I don't know who he is. You don't care. He could be Arthur. It could be Jack. Who, for all it matters.
To be honest, that's not as bad for me as the worst eye roll moment is. Hey, I called Eddie, Ozzy, and Harvey for beers after we work out. You gonna come, bro? Like,
they're friends. They're friends. They're gonna turn into enemies.
Okay, so this is what we changed. All of Bruce Wayne's enemies were originally his friends, and then they're all gonna turn into bad guys.
Here's what I sense.
Right, guys?
It's the Leo DiCaprio gif
from you two. Oh. I sense a very high level of cynicism going in, because you're giving me examples of things I never thought about. Maybe I'm dumb. I don't know. I just never got the beating. None of us are dumb. Badass. We're badass.
Batman
this is awesome.
In general,
I never. Yeah.
Batman in print for 2 years minimum has been absolutely disgraceful, to the point where I think they've really just lost their way. Like, I haven't read real Batman in so long, outside of like a couple Black Label books. It's they've just been making one bad decision after another. It's like I took my car into the shop for tires, and they try to tell me I need a new transmission. No, I don't need a transmission. I need maybe a paint job and just 4 tires. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Can you just make Batman again? Like, what is all this? Stop trying to change things. He's been around for 85 years. Let's continue to make Batman.
Pete and I do wrap up episodes every month, and Pete can tell you that I was hanging in there Mr. Optimism on the Batman title long after he was, hoping that like, maybe this will be the one that I'll enjoy it. Maybe I'll enjoy it. And then I finally just got over it. We were both pretty much over the detective run very early on with that. But like, I wouldn't have read this if I didn't want to. Like, I don't read it just so I can try and fit in because that's what's cool and hip. It was like, okay, it's Scott Snyder. I'm not turned off by the images. Some of the stuff bugs me, but it's like, but I can get over that hump. I won't disagree with you that there was some cynicism, because I think there's a lot of pounding over the head that this absolute Batman was coming. And then, like I've mentioned multiple times here, like, he doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a butler. He doesn't have a mansion. It's like, those shouldn't be your big points. Like, it should be more about like a new, I don't know, not even a new version of Batman, a new take on Batman, something like that, more so to sell me. So like, I didn't read it negatively, but like, I was aware that this was going to be a harder sell for me, and I wasn't going to dive in with open eyes and happy thoughts and wide open arms. This is going to be great. I'm so excited for this. It was hesitantly reading it. And I wouldn't continue reading it if I thought, like, if I don't like it. I don't do that. There's enough
do it for
good
you.
here. That's right. There's enough good here to keep me interested in where it's going to go next issue, what's going to happen next issue. Maybe there's going to be more to, or not, maybe there will be more to this Joker. And then I can judge even more so than just like a little dumb dialogue to me of like, they call him something because he's not that something.
I think that this universe will be fleshed out. This Batman world will be fleshed out more.
Yeah.
As we progress. I don't think they're going to go, that things are going to morph into traditional Batman roles. This Alfred's not going to be like Bruce Wayne is not going to somehow get rich one day, and then this Alfred's going to be his butler. That's not going to happen. I don't know what the relationship is between Gordon and Batman. This Gordon was police commissioner at one time. Now he's the mayor. He's under fire.
I don't think they have a relationship.
They may not yet. So, but yeah, it'll happen. I bet anything. Mm. I don't. He's already helped Barbara. Bullock's the police commissioner. He seems to be really a staunch ally of Gordon. So, and who's under fire for all the violence and the crime in the city. It all goes back to, for me, is that I went in skeptical, not cynical, but skeptical. And I ended up, when I said, I thought the story was very good. And if I had not come away with the idea of, okay, at the core, this Batman, this is Batman at its core, then I would have said no. But I felt the opposite. I felt like, yeah, at the very end of the day, this is Batman. He was Batman. He's Batman for the reasons Batman's Batman. Now you can take all the peripheral stuff, you can take away, but it didn't change the fact that he's Batman for Batman reasons. If that makes any sense. So yeah, I'm on board. I'm reviewing it. So it's not like Gotham by Gaslight, Kryptonian Age, where
I'm so glad you put that review stuff. Me and Pete were saying, I think since issue 2 of that was like, this should have just been called Justice League by Gaslight.
Yeah.
But they hijacked the Batman name.
Exactly. That's something I went into excited and went, okay. And I'm going to review it because
I got 7 more months.
Woo! I'm on board. I said I was going to do
7 more months of that thing.
I'm not going to hand off
12 issues.
But this one is something I'm not reading it just because I'm reviewing it. I'm looking forward to this next issue. I want to see where this goes. Sure. And ultimately it may be something I don't like, but issue 1 was good and I liked it, and I'm on board. So
I am curious as to where this Batman goes from here, because I imagine there's going to be an inevitable showdown between this absolute Batman and main continuity Batman. I imagine
I hope not.
They're building towards something. They have to.
Of course they are.
Like the whole point of All In. Well, they have to. They have to sell comic books. The whole point of All In was to basically reintroduce this universe in Darkseid's image and build towards some sort of event. That's what I'm really kind of interested in, more than actually watching this take on Batman do that. I want to see, because I'm not going to read the other stuff. The Wonder Woman who it doesn't live on Paradise Island and Born from Hell, and then the Superman without a family. Like I was like, you know what? I read Absolute Batman. I was like, if these things are that much different, it just doesn't seem like my thing. Like, you're changing what I really love about these characters, and to me, I'm not much of an Elseworlds guy. It takes a lot for me to get into Elseworlds stuff. This is what this kind of feels like, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm more interested in what they do with Darkseid than what they actually do with Batman.
Somewhere there, they were more interested in doing this, like a different take on Batman, than bringing us like a classic Batman that we know. And I think if eventually they, at least by this week, I'm sure they'll think they made the right decision because, like as I said early on, Bill, like awareness is half the battle.
I
And I
don't
think
know
anybody reading comics is very aware.
how are
I
the
think that this
reviews?
issue probably the reviews are great. Like across the
Okay.
board, the reviews are all really
Okay.
I
good.
imagine it sold like wildfire.
Yeah. So like, okay, they brought back a really big, successful writer, he's been really good on, just promoting this thing out the wazoo. So I think they probably think like we did the right thing. We brought this Batman. And for me, I'm kind of like, but they'd rather have done this than the classic Batman returning to that we know, because the timeline of the legacy titles, I guess we'll see what Tom Taylor does for Detective, but those aren't going back to Alfred Mansion, Bruce Mansion. Thank God we've got the last Halloween, because that's at least returning us to classic Batman that we know. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
for 10 months, 10 issues only.
I think we can still find classic Batman in DC. We have to look
When
hard
they do
for it.
Black Labels,
Black Label, yes.
Scooby-Doo Batman Mysteries has it every month, standalone issue. That's classic Batman. So that's good. And then when Loeb and Lee return and do Hush Part 2, we'll get more of that.
Loeb still has it. I mean, with those long Halloween specials, he just came in and just fit in like a glass slipper. I think Snyder, it's really Endgame was the last hurrah for me because the Robot Gordon thing was horrible, and then everything after with Dark Knight's Metal and Last Night on Earth was just embarrassingly bad in my opinion. And I think this is actually surprising me because I've heard Snyder multiple times say writing Batman's very difficult because there's 85 years of history. The fan base is insane. There's a lot of pressure, blah, blah. I'm actually surprised he came back to do this until I found out how different it was from traditional Batman. Because then he's kind of like, well, I kind of have free reign to create my own version of Batman in a sense. And that's kind of what this is. It's just,
Sure.
there's no, to me, like I compare it to Terry McGinnis because that's just how I feel. Like it could be any character. It could be his name could be Steve Dave, and it's just a
Steve
guy
Dave.
with some training and some muscle, and he became Batman. And I don't know. I think this really just lacks the motivations for me.
It's interesting because that the metal and Dark Knight's metal and heavy metal, all that metal, it's almost like that Batman carries with him the history, the classic Batman that we know, but it was in stories that I just didn't really care for.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's like, well, I'd rather this Batman than reading even just after one issue. I'd rather this Batman than that stuff, because that just definitely wasn't for me.
I'm with you.
We're a long way from Denny O'Neil.
So Pete, you're not reviewing it, so are you reading any more? Or are you done?
I will read this for Lauer's Batman
that's
book
right.
club.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
it.
Okay.
That's right.
I got
What
you.
a friend.
Okay.
What a friend.
And Ryan, you are intrigued enough.
Yes.
Despite,
I'll say
despite all that cynicism,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
intrigued enough to continue on.
Yeah,
Even
because
even if you weren't doing the Batman book club recap.
because of the disclaimer at the beginning too of yes, despite my criticisms and my hesitancies and stuff, is like I would argue that it probably it's a pretty good issue. It's written well, it's constructed well, the art is good. It's just like for me as a Batman fan reading this, it's like there's a lot of off-putting things in this. I'll say BOF perks definitely is probably the motivator on why I'd continue. And I'll leave it at that. And yeah, like it's enough that I'll keep exploring it. I'll keep following along, and we'll see where I'm at the end of these 5 issues. Like I said, don't know if it's the end of the arc or the end of this absolute Batman after 5. Don't know.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's only going to be 5 issues. I feel like they have a whole grand scheme plan for these 3 characters in this universe that'll build to probably something next summer.
Hopefully,
Bill's all in.
That will be something that you don't have to read to continue reading Absolute Batman if you like it, because once they start venturing off and on these, like this last thing they had, that's where you lose me. I think this is going to do it for Absolute Batman #1.
I wish it was it for Absolute Batman.
So I don't know what's going on with the 2 legacy titles. So I read Batman. It was okay, this first one, but yeah.
I don't like
this,
what it's hinting at the end.
this new costume, Avenger, good do-gooder,
Yeah, it seemed dorky.
fake.
And then
Yeah,
it teased
whatever.
something at the
Okay.
end that I hope they're not going to right now.
Anything you two want to mention that you got going on, either at Batman on Film or your own endeavors? Go ahead.
I am trying to gather the masses for a Joker 2 review show. And I think it's going to be quite special because I found some people who actually enjoyed the film.
Awesome.
Which apparently there aren't any. So I'm going to try to get that
There are a few.
Yeah. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. But whatever Tom Taylor has in store at the end of the month with Detective, we'll see that, because that book has to rebound, in my opinion. Mr. did not hold up his end of the bargain there.
All eyes are on him, but like he doesn't have to do much to get us on board.
No,
from
he
where
literally
Detective's
just
been for 2 years.
put Batman in a bat suit and get rid of anybody with more than 2 eyes.
Oh gosh.
There you go.
Ryan?
Let's see. For me, yes. Most recent episode of the Batman Book Club, my podcast. It's on Batman on Film and wherever you listen to podcasts. It's got Pete's buddy Andy Luca, because he's never read Batman Year One before, so I wanted to talk to somebody who's never read it.
That was good. That was interesting.
Good. I hope it accomplished what I was setting out for, of picking someone who doesn't read comics. He admittedly, it wasn't a humiliation episode or anything. He said doesn't read much comic books. I'm going to take this classic story, put it through a 2024 lens from like a general audience member. You know, how does it hold up? It was a good discussion. It was fun. I'm also going to have, maybe today or tomorrow, another episode talking about Year One with an artist on the recently released Artists Edition. And see, like, why would this be created? What do people get out of this? Who's it for? That was a fun discussion as well. So that'll be coming soon.
Awesome. That makes me want to resurrect my old idea of announcer Rachel reads comics.
You should do it.
Yeah. Maybe I will. All right. For me,
Yeah.
Batman on Film, batman-on-film.com. We'll say we are various members. Me and Pete have done them, but everyone's welcome. Are breaking down each episode of The Penguin, following each episode and on a podcast. And one show left, and we'll have season 1 of Batman Cape Crusader covered. We'll do episode 10 on the next Batmanimation. Damn, I had practiced that so much.
You had
I was
it.
so good at it.
You've been
man.
doing so good lately.
Batmanimation.
What happened?
Yeah. I don't know. So that's it. Announcer Rich will finish up here. We'll catch you next time.
You have been listening to the BOF Social Hour, Jett's official podcast on Batman on Film. Follow BOF on Threads at The Batman on Film. Follow BOF on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Batman on Film. To help keep BOF up and running, go to patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm, or you can buy BOF a beer at buymeacoffee.com/TheRealBatmanOnFilm. For Jett and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original, Batman on Film, founded in 1998.